Okay, we're Olaver Architecture. I'm the director, Emlyn, and this is Lucia, an associate. Lucia joined the team a little while ago, and this was actually her first project that she saw through from concept to completion. We acknowledge the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung people as the traditional owners of the land on which this project is situated. We recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture, and acknowledge that sovereignty and land were never ceded. We pay respects to their elders past, present and emerging. The project is located in Preston in Victoria's north. We're going to run through this project in respect of three sort of phases, being thinking, the briefing and design stages, making, the construction, and living, being how the house has been occupied since it finished up. This project actually kicked off, well, didn't quite kick off back in 2017 when I was introduced to the clients, Ollie and Lauren. They came back to me in 2019, 2.5 years later, after having a baby, to really get the ball rolling. We always kick off our projects with a questionnaire, and some of the key points that they raised were that the house was currently energy inefficient, had no connection to their garden. The location of the project, again, it's in Preston. We're on a relatively busy road to the east, that being Gilbert Road with a tram line. To the west or the rear of the site, we've got a laneway. The project's orientated east-west, and I'd note here that it's pretty representative of the area being an interwar brick dwelling and freestanding. The house, when we went and visited the very first time, we were enamoured by the really nice garden that they'd created and maintained themselves. Their style, they have really nice stuff. They'd painted the house, some of the interiors green. They'd put in a skylight, so we knew these guys were really interested in living nicely and taking care of their home. It was quite pokey, and we could see why they wanted to change things though. This is a drawing of the existing conditions, and we started off with a bit of a feasibility wherein we presented 3 plans, from which we ended up sort of picking and choosing a little bit of each to move forward with the concept design. Through the concept design, we tweaked around the edges to find something that met the budget and the brief. And we were always very conscious of we actually tried to keep making it smaller and smaller, as you can see in that sketch there. I'll kick over to Lucia now, who's going to go into a bit more depth on the design.
So as Emlyn mentioned, the first thing we really wanted to do was improve the circulation and free up that corridor. So we relocated the bathroom and we made use of the existing rooms, giving them new functions. So in this case, the sunroom actually turned into the bath and powder. The kitchen actually turned into the bedroom for the kids. We were also really interested in creating a thermal threshold between the existing house and the new house, because from the start of the project, the clients were very keen on pursuing a very thermally efficient project. So ideologically heading towards passive house aspirations. So we saw that as an opportunity to link the 2 houses, but keep them thermally separate. And with that aspiration in mind, we also looked at creating a thick thermal external envelope, which became this kind of inhabited wall, which stored joinery, fireplace, and storage for outside garden tools as well. That then turned into obviously a construction drawing with a bit of tweaking, and we developed a set from there. And in doing so, we obviously had to work up the passive house aspirations of the brief. So we looked at thickening the walls with insulation, PIR foam, and also detailing parts of that threshold so that we could achieve 0.6 air changes an hour and ensure that the heat recovery ventilation system would work really effectively. In the
deep threshold is both working from a passive house or thermal efficiency perspective, but also being an inhabited wall. So we've got window seat on the left there, a deep threshold for the north-facing glazing in the middle, and then there's actually a shed on the right there. And that's how it is once it's been furnished. And then just again detailing around the edges, just making sure it all really works, particularly that interface between old and new. yeah, their house was really successful in terms of how it's been inhabited around the edges, and particularly that dining area, which sits in that nook to the left of the screen there. In the making, we were lucky enough to get Highland built on board. It was one of their very early projects, and these guys were just fantastic in terms of their effort and their enthusiasm to give it a go. We started construction in very late 2020 and completed it in August of 2021. And that's obviously all through COVID and the problems that had. We still met a pretty tight timeline given the build. They took great pride in sort of working through all the issues with us. Moving on to how it's been occupied, this is Lauren and Ollie's two young boys, Wilfred and Ernie, enjoying the western sun coming into that courtyard to the north. This is the rear paved area. This area faces north. Obviously, we've ensured that there's good screening to that glazing. The pergola, which we look forward to seeing planted and with vines over time. Little Wilfred enjoying his digger there. The fire, that's myself with Ollie and Lauren having a talk about how that garden's going to grow and the reality of, you know, messy outdoor dining situations. Ollie enjoying a fire, looking from the rear entry to the very front door there. I got this text just before New Year's last year saying how well the house was holding up with the north facing. I would note that, as he said there, the external blinds weren't quite installed yet, but the eaves on the north side were perfect. That's that north facing glazing with the eave there. The window seats, Ernie enjoying a book there. And then maybe Lucia, you can talk about materiality.
Yeah, so obviously working from exterior to interior, you can kind of tell we've used a natural, really raw palette of materials. And partly that was due to the fact that we were, you know, trying to adhere to a budget, but also we were just trying to create a really robust house for the clients to grow into, that they didn't have to worry about being precious with. So natural timbers, shiplap on the exterior to kind of conceal all that joinery.
1 minute remaining.
Gal materiality on the bricks on site in the building of that new chimney on the west elevation, and working into the interior, picking up on some of those terracotta hues in the bathrooms and ensuite and powder. Generally, we think we have achieved something quite great with this house in that it's a precedent, because as an alterations and additions project, we think it sets a benchmark for contemporary living, thermal efficiency and performance. And we hope that that aspiration could probably be, yeah, I guess echoed in future projects as well.
Yeah, we're really proud of it. So thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoyed that presentation.